Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Council Ordinary Meeting for the 7th of December here at the 1 Nicholas Street Council Chambers. The meeting is at 9:02. I call attendance at commencement and we have all councillors except for Councillor Kunzelman and Councillor Madsen. And we do have a leave of absence from Councillor Kunzelman approved back on the 23rd of November. I'll now call on do a welcome to country. I'd also like to acknowledge we have quite a few people in our public gallery, so thank you very much to the many residents who've come in today. Ipswich City Council respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners as custodians of the land and waters we share. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging as the keepers of the traditions, customs, cultures and stories of a proud people. Thank you. We're very fortunate this morning to have our opening prayer by Pastor Billy Dean from the Raceview Congregational Church. So, Pastor Billy, I'll ask you to come up to the lectern. Morning, Pastor Billy.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and the privilege.
Also, thank you for coming. If you'd like to say who you are, what church, and just want to thank you very much for the wonderful carols on Sunday night under the big tree.
Yes,
phenomenal.
Yeah. So I'm from Raceview Congregational Church. We're a church that's been part of the Ipswich community for 153 years, and we had roughly our 41st or 42nd carols underneath the big fig tree on Wildie Street. If you've ever driven past it, it's, we think, arguably the oldest and biggest Christmas tree in Australia for the size of that fig tree that's been, I don't know how many hundred years, sitting on the Wallace paddock. So it's been a privilege for us as a church to serve the community and appreciate the support of the Wallace family too on that event. So I'd like to open in prayer for us and pray a blessing over everyone here. Dear God, we bring this meeting of the Ipswich City Council into your hands. I thank you for these men and women who have willingly committed their time to serve the residents and businesses of this city. I pray wisdom and discernment upon their decisions today. I also pray a prayer of blessing on their families who sacrifice much as these men and women serve you in public office. And at this Christmas time, God, we think of the people in the city who, for various reasons, find themselves in a place of sorrow and sadness and pain. We pray for our community leaders whose organisations do their best to seek out these marginalised and disadvantaged people and their families, bring them some joy and peace and comfort at this time of year. Bless and protect us all as we come to a Christmas, a celebration time of the ultimate gift that you've given mankind through your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Pastor Billy. Thank you. Do we have any other leave of absences apart from Councillor Kunzelman's? No.
Councillor Madsen's just in the lift, he's coming.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Allard. Item 5 are condolences. There are no condolence motions. Item 6 is tributes. There are none. I move on to item 7, and I'm going to ask the council to vote to consider accepting a petition from Tracy Butler that wasn't originally listed on our agenda due to timing. So, in accordance with section 9.3.2 of Council's meeting procedures policy, I ask that Council grant permission for consideration of item 7.1 titled Presentation of Petition, Stop the Odours from Swanbank Industries, and provide Tracy Butler with 5 minutes to speak to her petition as well. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. And it's unanimous in the chambers. Thank you. Now, normally when someone presents the petition or speaks to us, they do come to the lectern. Tracy is in a wheelchair, which means our fixed camera can't quite get to her. So we're going to have Tracy speak from the desk just behind Councillor Fechner there. That way the cameras will be able to capture as she speaks. And I have the petition here from you. Is this on? Screen. So Tracy, I invite you to say your name and you have 5 minutes to speak.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tracy Butler. I'm a resident that lives in Redbank Plains of Ipswich. As I'm sure you all are aware, at the moment we are suffering from these odours that are just taking their toll on the residents and the children. I started a petition because for 14 days straight, I was confined to my house with windows and doors shut. We couldn't go outside, I couldn't hose plants, nothing. So for 14 days straight, I turned around and I said to my husband, this is not right. And he says, well, if it's not right, do something about it. So I started a petition and we ended up with 6,129 signatures for our petition. I didn't realise it wasn't going to Brisbane, but it could come here to the Mayor's office. So we handed over that to the Mayor, and we're hoping that every one of you will stand behind us and help us stop the stink. It takes so much toll on these kids that are going to school. They're walking past our house vomiting. By the time they get to school, they have pounding headaches. They're in sick bays. Parents have been phoned and told to come and collect their children. We have high school students that are going into libraries and to escape from the smell because they are absolutely being nauseous and vomiting as well. So you can see that these kids are also missing out on school, and it's not only affecting primary school kids, high school kids. There's so many daycare centres out in our suburbs now. It's also affecting them. Yes, they have a canister, one of these canisters, to capture the smell when it gets that bad so we can test the chemicals. But we know for a fact that these canisters are not testing for all chemicals. We need you guys to get behind us and to demand the state government to test all chemicals that are coming from these odours. They can't just test 75% of them. What about the rest of the 100%? We want 100% of all chemicals tested. We have also designed a Stop the Stink flyer and information about the state petition, and we will be letterboxing drops. The residents are doing letterbox drops, as well as anyone and everyone that can help out. We need money donated to get more flyers done. We had a donation from Senator Scarr for $500, which gave us 10,000 flyers. So by all means, we will accept a donation from any of you guys to help us get more flyers printed so that every resident of Ipswich will have one of these in their letterbox. It tells them where to email when they get the smell, what are the symptoms and everything, because some of the residents do not know about it. So the more information we get out to them, the better, but we really need your help in helping us. We want to be able to live in Ipswich with clean, fresh air. We don't want a cancer cluster here in years to come with all these young children growing up and then the government saying, oh yeah, you know, all those odours, they have affected those kids. We do not want to have to go through this. We want to prevent it. And we need you as members of council to help us. We don't see a lot of you guys going to the media when you guys are doing media fronts and everything else. We don't see anybody mentioning about the odours. And every opportunity that you can, we need you guys to do this for us. We need to get it and tell Anastasia Palaszczuk and the state government, Ipswich isn't their dumping ground anymore. We want fresh air. We want to sleep with our windows open. We have to go to bed every night and close our windows. So we want your help desperately. Please be there for the residents of Ipswich. After all, we put you here. Do something for us in return.
Thank you very much, Tracy. So we have the petition. Tracy, I want to thank the over 6,000 people who signed this. And I'd like to move that this petition be received. And also, Tracy's mentioned a few things in her speech, but I ask for that this petition be received and for it to be referred to a future growth infrastructure and waste committee for us to review the findings from that. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Tully. I'll now open up for any discussion.
Mayor, what do you mean by review the findings of the petition?
Tracy has raised a few things today in her speech, and I think that'd be good for us to come back to her with some of the suggestions that she's made.
Just noting that the time frame of the next GIW might slip past us and
It'll be February.
go through Christmas into February. So,
Yeah. So you're thinking the next ordinary council meeting in January?
yeah, I'm thinking the next ordinary council meeting.
Okay.
I was thinking maybe there would be discussion here today about potentially writing to Minister Lennard, letting her know of Tracy's appearance here today. So there's probably interim actions that could be taken from this rather than waiting to take actions at a future meeting of council.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll amend that to that the petition be received and referred to the ordinary council meeting. I think it's at the 25th of January, 2024, the 25th. Councillor Tully, are you okay with that amendment?
Yeah, I'll accept that amendment.
Yep.
Thank
you
you
very much. Thank you for that. For discussion, I want to thank the residents. You know that we've been working very closely with you. This has been a council when we were elected in 2020 where we said we're not going to put up with this waste anymore. We decided to work hard and work smart. And, you know, in December 2020, this council adopted the Waste and Circular Economy Transformation Directive, which basically led us to, you know, take waste companies to court. We've spent over $8 million of ratepayers' money taking them to court in lockstep with our community. So I'm really appreciative of the community supporting us in spending that amount of money to get a better deal for us. It's money that we shouldn't have to pay. We don't do any of the environmental regulations. That is a state government responsibility. And council is currently in court with one of the waste companies, Newgrow, at the moment with two matters as well. So I support, personally, I'll support the fact that all the chemicals should be tested. You know, I was there at the drop-in session with the Department of Environment and Science, and also more than happy to help with any flyers and support. And as you know, this council has been supportive of stopping the stink from the very beginning, and so on. I'll open up for any other discussion. Councillor Doyle.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Absolutely. Thank you to Tracy for being here today, and I guess take us back to 4 years ago when we were running for election, and it was very clear during that time, during our campaign, that this was an enormous issue impacting negatively our community around the area of the dumps, and in particular Collingwood Park. What we did from that time after becoming elected, our waste directive is what we did, and it was my notice of motion to council to formulate that waste directive. And we all worked very hard behind the scenes to formulate that strategy, and I'm really pleased that since that time we have seen some change. It's not going to happen overnight for a lot of the items within the directive, but I absolutely acknowledge around the stench, the smell and the impact on our residents' health. That's not something that we can wait to see action on. It's urgent, it's now. And my commitment, and I know Councillor Fechner's commitment, is to pull every lever possible We may not be there on the TV every morning, Mayor, as our official spokesperson. That is your role. But please be assured we are working every day with council officers to come up with every opportunity to identify levers we can pull to place pressure on Des to take action around the stench. Thank you again, Tracy.
And I concur, the councils here have been in lockstep when it comes to how we put the pressure on the waste industry. I saw in the last couple of days one of the waste companies that were in litigation with Newgrow issue, I'll say, an outrageous press statement blaming residential encroachment on the increase in complaints. That's clearly not the case. We have suburbs that have been established for over 100 years. Hope that's not from the... we have suburbs that have been established for over 100 years, like Beval and Eastern Heights, who are getting these odours as well. Collingwood Park, where those houses have been there for decades, are getting the stench. Myself, I saw it in my house, at my home, and raised you, and our house was built in the 70s. So, you know, it is... The waste companies have to operate within their environmental authority. It is complete rot when they say that it's because of the urban encroachment. It's because they're not complying with their environmental authority. Sorry, I'll open up for other discussion.
Tracy, I'm in a pretty bad spot to let the mic catch my words, but I saw you on the project this week, and I've seen you on the news in more recent months, and I just want to thank you for that advocacy that you've been doing. You've been the face for the residents, and that can't have been easy for you.
It's not easy, but somebody's got to do it. So.
It's a difficult thing, and I just wanted to recognise the work that you're putting in, the hours of your own time that you're spending advocating on behalf of the residents. It is really important to get that perspective, and you've done such a good job actually obtaining those media opportunities to put this front and centre on the national stage. And so alongside the work that we're doing here behind the scenes, all of the technical things that we need to do to be compliant, to ensure that we're not prejudicial in terms of our commentary when it comes to legal action that's underway, you are out there fighting the good fight, and we thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm doing it for my grandchildren and everybody's child and grandchildren. We just don't want them to suffer in years to come if there's any fallback from cancer clusters or anything else. That's why we are desperately needing 100% of the chemicals to be tested, not 75%.
Chair, if you may indulge, just a final comment to Tracy. Again, thank you. And the advocacy that we've been doing around this, we acknowledge that there is a really important role to play for the community members. It's a multi-pronged approach, and please know that, you know, take comfort. No one has come before you and generated such interest, media interest. You have done that single-handedly. It certainly has come to the attention of media in the past, but the media attention you've generated yourself, you are to be commended.
My father always said I had a big mouth.
And also thank you to Michelle as well, the two of you.
Yes.
The dynamic duo.
And Chad as well.
Chad, yes.
So Chad Hayes here too.
It's wonderful. Thank you. If there's any further discussion, yes, Councillor Madsen.
Look, I'll just be reiterating what Andrew and Marnie have said. I'm very thankful for the work of Tracy and Michelle and Chad. It gets a bit difficult at times as a councillor because the mayor's our spokesperson for waste matters, but we've been unanimously voting on a lot of these measures for the whole 4 years. We're pretty unified in not wanting the odours. I live closer than anyone else on the council to it, and I know that a lot of people in the area have got a lot of fatigue with dealing with the issue, so I think it's been a really meaningful impact since you've personally became very active on the issue. Tracy, I think you've brought a lot of new light to it, whereas some of the longer term people had sort of over time slowed down a bit. So all of the media you've generated is creating a lot of political pressure, and I think it's going to lead to a much quicker outcome. I hope so. Yeah, So anyway, thanks again.
Thank you, and thank you to your grandchildren for letterbox dropping as well. If there's no other commentary, I'll put the recommendation to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. And need to get our council unanimously your votes to make the waste companies comply. Thank you so much. Thank you. Actually, can we do a round of applause for Tracy? Thank you, Tracy and Michelle. Move on to the next item, which is item 8, which is the presentations and deputations. And we're very fortunate today. We have Mr. John Dredge, OAM, the President of the Ipswich Railway Sub-Branch, and Mr. John King, who will be wanting to present a plaque to Ipswich City Council in support of the Vietnam Veterans City March. So I'll ask you both to come to the lectern. Do you mind just stating your name and where you're from for the record, and then continue? Thanks, John.
My name is John Dredge. I'm the President of the Ipswich Railway RSL Sub-Branch.
I'm John King, Vice President of the Ipswich Railway Sub-Branch.
Mayor Teresa Harding, councillors and visitors. It's an honour to address this assembly here this morning. This year we commemorate the 50th anniversary of the cessation of hostilities between Australia and Vietnam. It was a war that divided the nation in unparalleled circumstances. Our servicemen came back to be ostracised and spat on, not recognised in the community for their duty of service. And in one parade, the leading senior officer was splattered with red paint. Early this year, I had an idea, which I talked to John and other fellow board members of our sub-branch, to do something in this city to recognise these servicemen and women who served in this theatre of war. My idea was for a march down the mall through the good offices of the Deputy Mayor, Russell Milligan. We met with Ben Pole and Carly Gregory, senior officers of the Ipswich City Council, to formulate an idea which I thought had merit. In cooperation with our colleagues of the Ipswich sub-branch, we got to a point where these two wonderful senior officers plus their staff put together a momentous occasion. The thing was, the first part of it was the Ipswich sub-branch conducted their service up at the honour stones in the Memorial Park. Present there that day was the Honourable the Prime Minister, who I had the honour to meet, and who thanked us, RSL, for the services we do to veterans. After that, veterans formed up in Darcy Doyle Place for the commencement of that particular march. Lo and behold, a helicopter did a low swoop up the mall. The march started, I should say, from Darcy Doyle, as I said, come down through the mall to Tullamore Place. The situation here was the march was organised through a number of people, both members of the sub-branch, our sub-branch, Ipswich Railway, and of course our council officers. Veterans were transported down the mall in jeeps and other vehicles. It was then led by the Salvation Army from Bandamba Drum Corps, cadets with flags, veterans, Vietnamese community, and other people. I must put on record my appreciation to the students of St Edmund's College and St Mary's College for their participation. To the RSL community, any event we have, a commemorative event, we have what we call a statement of purpose. This is crucial and central to the commemorative event that we hold. In that, we mention the reason we congregate, the reason we are doing a commemoration, and more importantly, to recognise those people who were wounded, and unfortunately some who gave the supreme sacrifice in that conflict. We asked Ben Pole, who is a son of a Vietnam veteran, to read out this statement of purpose. It was done with character and integrity, which we all appreciate. And at the end of that service, the Mayor kindly recognised the service of those men and women who stood before her. There were 50 in total. Unfortunately, some of them are now deceased, but their family was there in representation of their service to this country. So in recognition of the cooperation and appreciation we have for this council, I'll ask John to present to the Mayor this particular plaque, which has the badge of the RSL, and it reads, Ipswich Railway Sub-Branch proudly acknowledges the valuable contribution of councillors and staff of the Ipswich City Council for the support of the Vietnam Veteran City March, 18th of August 2023. With your indulgence, Mayor, may we present it to you. And may I also get John to present our newsletter, Sub-Branch newsletter, with our photographs and commentary.
No, Ross is an active member of your Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. To the Ipswich Railway Sub-Branch, thank you so much for that acknowledgement when this service was about acknowledging your service. So thank you so much. And in council, we have many members of our council who are veterans or children of veterans and have strong defence connections as well. So thank you very much. We now go on to public participation, which is item 9. There are none. Then now we go on to item 10, matters of public interest.
Sorry, Mayor, with regards to the previous matter, sorry to wait until...
My apologies, would you like to speak to it?
If I may?
Yes, please, sir.
With your indulgence.
Please do, Deputy.
As an associate member of Ipswich Railways Sub-Branch, I personally get to see on a very regular basis the outstanding work that is done within our community on a broad range, not just the support of the veteran community, but support of our entire community. Of late, regularly, I have been attending some of our local school graduation ceremonies, and Ipswich Railway RSL Sub-Branch provides numerous bursaries of a substantial amount of money to students at those schools. So I just would like to express on behalf of the city our immense gratitude to the outstanding leadership of Ipswich Railway Sub-Branch for having the ability to engage across our community and do the good work that they do. If I may also ask, Mayor, would we care to invite our 2 visitors for morning tea with us today?
I would support that. That'd be lovely. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. I'll now move on to item 10, which is a matter of public interest. And I have a matter of public interest on the 2023, a year in review. So from the renaming of Pastalia Drive to Curral Drive, celebrating Ipswich's 150th Ipswich show, to welcoming Ash Barty's first baby, there were many defining moments this year that we can reflect on as this final Ipswich City Council meeting of 2023. We faced challenges and shared in many achievements together with the community this year. Ipswich continues to be the fastest growing city in the state as we welcomed our 250,000th resident in September. Dave and Felicia Riddell were Walloon's newest residents, moving into their new home, which 6 families do every single day here in Ipswich, and 6,200 did in the past financial year. As families choose to live in our vibrant city, we are ensuring that we are planning for this growth. We are on the cusp of delivering a new planning scheme, Ipswich Plan 2024, which is being shaped by the strong response to this year's community consultation. We engaged with just under 100,000 residents and businesses to gauge their views and are now working through more than 500 formal submissions to the draft plan. Work started in earnest this year on the Ipswich to Springfield Central Public Transport Corridor, known locally as I2S, with a consultant appointed in June to commence the preliminary business case. We've also begun the process for the designs for the long-awaited Ripley Road upgrade. This, as well with the I2S, which is a mass transit solution, will connect Ipswich to Springfield Central via our booming suburbs of Ripley and Redbank Plains. These are one of our regionally significant priorities, and each of our advocacy projects are geared towards protecting and enhancing our great lifestyle as we grow sustainably over the next 20 years. We have seen the challenges of our population surge to meet the rental squeeze, rising inflation, interest rates, and the ever-rising cost of living. Sadly, we've also seen a steady increase since the pandemic of people slipping rough across our city. As a council, we have committed to a coordinated response with increased systems in place to work alongside relevant state government agencies responsible for housing and homelessness, as well as our local community providers. Council also launched a domestic and family violence page on our website, which offers information for people at risk of violence and provides avenues for help and assistance. We just heard from Redbank Plains resident Tracy Butler as she presented with us a petition asking that the nuisance and noxious odours from the waste industry be stopped. We've been advocating strongly on this issue for our entire term, as the disgusting stench that comes and goes across some suburbs, sadly, has been going on for over a decade. This month, the Department of Environment and Science has filed a court order seeking to halt odour-producing aspects of production against Newgrow, while Council launched its own legal action in October against the same company for alleged breaches of our planning approvals. This is a good start to address the immediate odour impacts as Council continues to advocate for a long-term solution through legislation to compel all operators to enclose their composting operations. Our Waste and Circular Economy Transformation Directive is driving change, and we've had significant legal wins in recent months against waste companies Wanless, Landtrack and Cleanaway, preventing the establishment of new or expanded landfills in Ipswich. This council has been one that listens to the community, acts accordingly, and is always seeking to protect and enhance our wonderful city. With that in mind, we launched our economic development strategy that sets targets to push our economy to new heights, including 11,500 new jobs by 2027 and a $6.5 billion increase in gross regional product. With the return of confidence in our council and our city, we are attracting big businesses to invest in Ipswich, with companies like L'Oreal and Agros heading to Ipswich. The Coles Redbank Automated Distribution Centre, the largest of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere, opened this year with the Prime Minister. And as I turn the first sods at CHEP, Suntory Oceania and cut the ribbon at Hypersonics this year. This year our economy smashed through the $12 billion mark for the very first time, and we're not going to stop there. We have laid the foundations for the Ipswich economy to continue to grow. We are also a council that collaborates with all levels of government to get the best possible outcomes for the people of Ipswich. The Commonwealth and state governments jointly funded the voluntary buyback program, with council delivering the contracts, purchasing the flood-impacted homes and demolishing them. This land will be rezoned and never again will homes be rebuilt there. By September, we had bought back 100 homes, bringing relief to 100 families that will never again have to watch the river's edge creeping towards their home or have to clean the muddy banks from their belongings. Since then, we've added a further 47 families to that list and another 147 deemed eligible for the buyback. Council continues to deliver on our promise to revitalise the city centre with the introduction of the new businesses Sophia Nails, Sushio, Bum Bum Bao, Aesthetica and Indie School, as well as the Toolma Walk, opening this year in the Nicholas Street precinct, and tomorrow it will turn into the St Nicholas precinct. And we're delighted to have more businesses moving in and set up in the new year. After handing the keys to the city in 2022 to Ipswich State High School Rugby League team, one of the most successful football teams in Ipswich's history, I was delighted to see them go on this year and turn their ambitions into reality, with 13 players now signed on with teams playing in the NRL. We had the Ipswich-based Brisbane Lions AFLW team bring home the premiership this week, and we celebrated our top sporting officials and competitors in the 2023 Ipswich Sport Awards with 2 times gold medal from the Special Olympics, Isabella Parisi, named Senior Sportsperson of the Year. Of course, there were many Ipswich athletes representing us on the national and world stage in their respective sport, and I congratulate each and every one of them. Tomorrow we'll be releasing our Leveraging 2032, our roadmap to the Olympic and Paralympic Games at our Olympic event venue, Brighton Homes Arena. The roadmap is aimed to bring top-class sport and entertainment venues and facilities, mass public transport, hotels and people to our city. Ipswich City Council will continue to build on the work of this elected body. Ipswich City Council will continue to build on the work of this body, elected councillors, as we move into the new year and to the next cycle of local government elections next year. In the new year, we will see many of our plans come to fruition, with the city moving towards a 3-bin collection system to include FOGO, a new on-demand large curbside collection service, which will kick off in January, and we will drive on new roads as the first of stage 3 was completed this year on the Springfield Parkway and the Springfield Greenbank arterial. Lastly, each of us in this chamber is in a unique position. Through our wonderful Ipswich City Council, we ensure continuous service delivery of everything from waste collection to building roads and maintaining our road network, fantastic library services, city events, environmental and disaster readiness programs, and so much more. However, there have been 3 projects this year that are near and dear to my heart that have had life-changing impacts for some of our residents. I want to thank the councillors in this chamber and the Ipswich City Council team for supporting our community with the Deirdre Kennedy Memorial commemorating 50 years since that tragedy. This meant so much not only to the Kennedy family, but also to the many police officers and community support networks who've worked so hard seeking justice that sadly did not eventuate. I thank Peter Dutton, the leader of the opposition, for attending the service. He was intricately involved in reversing the double jeopardy laws. And I also want to thank retired Pastor Mark Edwards for conducting the service with such sensitivity. The second project, I think, is My High Grove. Our council worked with residents, we worked with the Queensland Government, the Queensland Reconstruction Authority, the Australian Government, to achieve something that has not occurred anywhere else in Queensland and probably not Australia. It was just phenomenal with the result that we had, that we were able to support 42 families, and I think create a way for going forward. It's something I think that has had a massive impact. I think that the heart of this council wouldn't have happened without that. And the third and final thing is, very proud of this council, the councils around this chamber and our council for fighting hard and smart to get a better deal for our residents when it comes to the impacts of non-compliant waste companies who continue to trash our city. So thank you very much for your support, and I look forward to the year ahead with excitement for the future as we continue to place the community at the centre of everything that we do. Thank you. We now move on to item 11, which is the declarations of interest in matters on the agenda.
Thanks, Mayor. In accordance with Section 150 EQ of the Local Government Act, I, Councillor Andrew Feckin, declare that I have a declarable conflict of interest in item 15.6, entitled Ipswich Central Redevelopment Committee Report. The nature of my conflict of interest are my business interests in both Bar Heisenberg Proprietary Limited and A1A Events Proprietary Limited. And they're both located in the top of town in Ipswich. I plan on dealing with this conflict by leaving the room while the matter is considered and voted on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fichtner. Councillor Madsen.
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with Section 150 EQ of the Local Government Act 2009, I, Councillor Jacob Madsen, inform the meeting that I have a declarable conflict of interest in item 15.6, titled Ipswich Central Redevelopment Committee Report. The nature of my declarable conflict of interest is I'm a former member of the executive of the Ipswich Trades Hall and Labor Day Committee, and their building, the Ipswich Trades Hall, is immediately adjacent to Council's works. As a result of my conflict of interest, I'll leave the meeting room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hanson. Are there any other declarations of interest? No. We'll move on to item 12, which is the confirmation of minutes. And are there any corrections, amendments or omissions? No. So I'll move that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting on the 23rd of November 2023 be confirmed. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Again, any corrections, errors, omissions? No. I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. We now move on to item 13, mayoral minute, there is none. Item 14, business outstanding, there is none. So item 15 is the reception and consideration of committee reports, and the first of that is the report of the Growth, Infrastructure and Waste Committee. Does anyone have any questions of the relevant council officers on this report? In that case, I move that the council adopt the report of the Growth, Infrastructure and Waste Committee of the 28th of November 2023. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Tully. I'll open up for any discussion. Thank you, Councillor Tully.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just one item I'd like to refer to on page 37, page 36 and 37. Item 5, the registration of interest engagement for lease of land to community groups. This has been an exercise which the council has conducted. There is land, the history of this is that there's land which was provided by the Springfield City Group for community purposes. 3 lots of land were identified in the Springfield area, one of which is not being proceeded with at the moment because of issues relating to the topography and other matters relating to that land. But there are 2 allotments, number 12 Mount Juliet Drive and number 79 Sierra Drive at Spring Mountain, which are under active consideration. And this report firstly identifies those organisations that have sought to be a part of the process and the registration of interest. And the recommendation is that there be a formalised expression of interest exercise for both of those lots. And I'm quite impressed by the range and diversity of organisations which have applied to be part of this ongoing process, because out of this I have no doubt that the community will significantly benefit in the area from in that what's called the Greater Springfield area, but specifically in the Augustin Heights and Spring Mountain area. And it'll probably only take me less than a minute to run through those organisations just by name to highlight the diversity of organisations that want to utilise these properties for community purposes. There's the YMCA, the Varnam Cultural Society, Federation of Indian Communities Queensland, Gujarati Community of Queensland, Disciples Church of Springfield, the Scout Association of Australia, Humanity First Australia, Kanaya Catholic Congress, Lupang Hinarang Proprietary Limited, St Jacob's Kanaya Congregation and Worship Centre, Brisbane, Horizon Sons, Bengali Society of Queensland, Springfield Sports and Cultural Club, and the Tamil Association of Queensland. Now, they're the names that have been recommended to going forward with this process, but I'm quite excited with the opportunity for the community to significantly benefit. And I think what's been said at our committee meeting is still important, that irrespective of the nature of any of these groups, there needs to be a widespread community involvement so that these places do have a significant community and widespread connection to the community rather than just one single focus for a particular organisation. So I'm certainly quite excited to of this in 2024. I think we'll be able to come up easily with 2 organisations who will be able to bring this major developments to the Springfield region. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. I think there's only one organisation you missed there, was Greater Springfield Welfare Society. There's also one as well. Thank you.
I don't think I have that one on the list that I printed out.
Thank you. Any other commentary? I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. That's unanimous and carried. We move on to item 15.2, which is the report of the Governance and Transparency Committee of the 28th of November 2023. And I'll hand over to the chair of that. I know there was a matter with item 3. I'm not sure how you wish to manage that. Or after information on the tennis maintenance costs?
Yeah, I've forwarded that information, received the information yesterday from the General Manager of Corporate Services.
Right.
Didn't realise it was only sent to Councillor Milligan and myself. So I've forwarded that to everyone. That's its own item in the agenda today. So I'd recommend that we just proceed with the motion before us for approving the Governance and Transparency Committee.
So, so you're wanting to proceed with approving all items?
Yep.
1 through to 16? Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Milligan. Appreciate that. I'll open up for discussion.
No discussion other than we had a very productive meeting week and a bit ago, and it resulted in these items being recommended to the council. One item was referred to the January council meeting, which hopefully we'll talk a bit more about indoor sports facilities before then to get a good strategic decision. And yeah, the item about the tennis centre appears later in today's agenda, and I'd refer all councillors to the email I forwarded earlier. They can see a comparison of items.
Thank you, Councillor Madsen. Any other discussion? Thank you, Councillor Tully.
Just a couple of issues. I just want to clarify what we're voting on in relation to that tennis item, which is item 3.
It was just a referral, so the item for tennis was...
But we're not voting on that item now until later on, that specific item.
No, we're voting on that now.
Well, no, that's listed under officers'
No,
reports as a separate item.
I can clarify that through you, Mayor, if that's okay.
Okay.
All we would be doing now is confirming that, yes, it was referred to the council ordinary meeting, so it appears as item 16.1 today. Okay,
I'm happy with that. Can I just raise two matters here? One is in relation to item 3. The original item 3 combined 2 issues. One was the tennis club and one was the Rosewood Showgrounds. They're both listed in the minutes or the recommendations as item 3, which doesn't provide any clarity for the future. Could I suggest, if the mover and seconder are agreeable, they be renumbered 3A and 3B?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Tully.
And the other item I want to refer to is page 47.
Which item is that?
Item 5.
Item 5. Yep, the Goodna Off-Leash Dog Park.
Goodna Off-Leash Dog Park. That was it's good to see this item there. That's been operating for a number of years on the what was known as the Cherokee Dog Farm on Brisbane Terrace. It was set up originally by Keith Kirkpatrick, who has passed away in recent years. But to see this being extended or created for another 5 years with a 5-year option, so about 10 years, a lot of people certainly do that. It's just down across Woogaroo Creek. It's the only property on that side of the in the city of Ipswich on that side of Woogaroo Creek, just heading towards the Gales railway station. So this is certainly an opportunity that will be appreciated by many people, many dog owners in the Goodna area and the Gales area. We're up on that bridge that's been established, who can get there in less than 2 minutes with their animals. So it's very good, and I'm highly supportive of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Any other discussion? Okay, so I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. We now move on to item 15.3, which is the report of the Community Culture, Arts and Sports Committee of the 28th of November 2023. I'll hand over to the chair of that committee to see how we would like this report managed.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to move, once we're there, that council adopt the report of the Community Culture, Arts and Sports Committee.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Councillor Fetner, do you wish to speak to it?
Yeah, just a couple of things I'd like to mention for clarity and consistency. This morning, Councillor Tully, the report regarding the funding for the Show Society will also appear later. So what we're voting on here is simply the referral of that matter to this council ordinary meeting. Secondly, and very excitingly, we had some really brilliant discussion around the notice of motion that both Councillor Doyle and I brought to council last month regarding an arts hub for the creators of Ipswich. There was some good discussion around how we see that space operating in the future, and a general consensus from everyone, but particular mention from the Mayor and myself to have this idea fleshed out with the Ipswich Advisory Group, which does appear as a recommendation that we formulated at the committee as well, just as a way of going to the community to see how they envisage using that space. And I think that it's prudent for us to do so. So that's about it from me. I'm really looking for councillors' support today to get this notice of motion of ours that's been kicking around for some time into action. I mean, we do have an immediate action stemming from the recommendation there that council can begin some of those remediation works down at the old Jamie's. And I believe Councillor Tully has a slight amendment to make to this one as well. He did bring to my attention this morning a grammatical error, Councillor Tully.
Is it the advisory group's not capitalised?
No, if I just add that in, this is on page 62 of item 1. Under paragraph B, it refers to 116 Brisbane Street, Ipswich, and in brackets, formerly Jamie's kitchen. It should be F-O-R-M-E-R-L-Y rather than formerly.
Yes.
So it's obviously it was taken down as it was pronounced,
yes.
But not as it should be correctly
Yes.
spelled. So I could ask the mover and seconder to amend that, please.
Thanks, Councillor
Thank you.
Tully.
So Councillor Doyle, if you're happy with that.
Councillor Doyle, you're happy.
Thank you. While we're there, to the Ipswich Arts Advisory Group, which is in recommendation C, it's a capital A for advisory, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, that's also okay. Well,
You're okay with
while we're here, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Doyle, do you wish to speak to this as the seconder? Okay. No, thank you very much for the notice of motion. It's great to see things going ahead. I'll obviously be supporting this. It's, I think, probably long overdue in our city. It's great to see that we're, you know, scaling up. We're coming to a really great space, and look forward to working closely with the Ipswich Arts Advisory Group in this progressing forward. I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. The next item is item 15.4, the report of the Economic and Industry Development Committee of the 28th of November. As Councillor Kunzelman is on a leave of absence, would the Deputy Chair of the Economic and Industry Development Committee like to, how would he like this managed?
I was an apology, Mayor, so perhaps a committee member that was present can recommend a course of action.
I was there, and I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Any discussion? I think the main thing that Councillor Kunzelman did mention at the time was that she had organised, I think, the meeting before to have representative from TAFE attend, and I think the Chamber of Commerce, but obviously we had a large development application matter come forward and they weren't available to come at this meeting, and they're looking to do that in the new year, I think. Any other discussion? I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. (15.5) is the report of the Environment and Sustainability Committee of the 28th of November 2023. Deputy Mayor, as the chair of that committee, how would you like this report managed?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move that Council adopt the report of the Environment and Sustainability Committee meeting number 11 of 28 November 2023.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Fechner. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to highlight the two officers' reports that were there. I thank the organisation once again for the work that has gone into developing the new City of Ipswich Biosecurity Plan, and the other item being the off-site Stormwater Quality Improvement Program annual report, which also has been a lot of work developing that, and for that to be delivered in the way that was well received. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. I think it's unanimous and carried. We now move on to item 15.6, the report of the Ipswich Central Redevelopment Committee of the 28th of November 2023. I'll hand over to... Oh, thank you. Sorry. I'll hand over to the chair of that committee to see how she would like this report managed.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council adopt the report of the Ipswich Central Redevelopment Committee, number 12, from the 28th of November.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll open up for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. At committee, I guess one of the highlights within the, I think it was item number 4, the Retail Sub-Project Steering Committee report, that gave us the update with regard to Hoyts and the positioning of the escalators being put in place there, which is a huge, I guess, milestone in the construction phase. For venue at the top of Nicholas Street, Brisbane Street and Ellenborough Street. You know, again, reiterate that the Hoyts brand, securing the Hoyts brand in Ipswich is a huge achievement for our city and shows the confidence that's returned to the market here in Ipswich Central. I'm delighted by the big brands that are coming through, and I look forward to being able to share the news around who they are early in the new year. Just want to take the opportunity also, end of the year, final ordinary, to thank the NSP team who have worked tirelessly this year alongside our CEO, Sonia Cooper. The development is complex and not without risk, and the risk management and work that's gone into this. I'm really, really proud of the team, and thank you. Look forward to working with you in the new year as we move forward to opening more businesses.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. I note from this as well that Council have also opened a new Shape Your Ipswich page, which goes into a lot of detail into the venue building, which is the building that will have Hoyts as well as a number of other entertainment and food and beverage outlets up there, which is great. And I think it's great to see that continued transparency measures being brought in by this council, as well as sharing a number of really important consultancy reports and showing the direction as well as the history of that particular building as it continues to be built. It's really great to see. And if anyone has any other questions about that part of the development, please send them along and we're happy to put that on the frequently asked questions.
Yeah, and a good point to raise, Mayor, the due diligence that has gone into formulating the strategy or scheme that underpins Nicholas Street Precinct is enormous. Coming from an institutional banking background, I'm aware of a certain standard in the due diligence, and it's absolutely been done for NSP. I guess I just wanted to highlight, if I may, Mayor, my committee is obviously Ipswich Central Redevelopment. It is not just NSP, so it is the wider redevelopment and revitalisation of Ipswich Central, and delighted to see a number of initiatives underway We've got the top of town, the late night shopping on Friday as we turn on the lights in the Ipswich CBD. Head up to the top of town and support our traders up there. They'd appreciate it. And yeah, it is great to see local small businesses embracing and reaping the benefits of the redevelopment that is underway here by council. Businesses at the top of Nicholas Street, downtown, CBD, as well as top of town. The positive feedback and the excitement that's building as we're getting closer to the precinct being completed is evident.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. And I also note that Riverlink are also getting more customers as well because of the uplift of the Nicholas Street precinct. So thank you. And I just note too that the St Nicholas turns into the St Nicholas precinct tomorrow night as we turn on the lights and have a great program leading up to Christmas. Any other discussion? I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. Thank you. Thank you. Noting it's now after 10 o'clock, I'll move that we adjourn for 30 minutes. We'll adjourn to 10:30. All those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimously carried. And just reiterate the invitation to Mr John Dredge, OAM, and Mr John King to join us for morning tea. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back to the Ordinary Council meeting for the 7th of December 2023. I see all councillors here today, except for Councillor Coulson, who has a leave of absence, and it's 10:31. We've just come back from an adjournment, and we're now on to item 16, which is officers' reports. And the first one is 16.1, which is a lease for renewal over trust land, Queen's Park Tennis Facility, 76 Chermside Road. I guess we have to move into discussion. For me, I've only just received the information, so I'm not in a position to make a decision today. So I'm not sure how people wish to manage this.
Mayor, if I may,
Yeah.
I think if we can all just have a bit of a glance at it and talk through the matter with officers, I think we'll probably have enough clarity. I certainly believe I will. Can't speak for yourself.
Okay.
Because there's one thing in particular, it's a trustee lease, so there may be some timing involved. So we'll just have to be conscious of that before.
Okay, so we'll make sure we'll go to...
Yeah.
Would anyone like to ask any council officers questions on the matter before us? Thank you. Do you know which council officer? Yep.
Property services.
Thank you.
Morning, Alicia Reid, Property Services Manager.
Thank you, Mrs. Rigg. Councillor Madsen?
Through the chair, just needed a little bit of clarification. There were some technical reasons why we were trying to deal with this matter quite quickly, ideally this side of the New Year's break. Can you speak to that?
So it is a trustee lease. So this is placed at Queen's Park on a deed of grant and trust, which is state land. And under the Land Act, it requires council as trustee to have authorised tenure over these arrangements.
All right. So would there be issues if this was deferred further, or?
The agreement has expired on the 31st of October. It can certainly be approached to the state that we're still in negotiations with a decision in council to tie that over, but we would really like it dealt with early in 2024 if that's the case.
All right. I don't have any other questions for property services, but...
Have any questions for property services? No, thank you very much. Thank you. Do you wish to move that, Councillor Madsen?
Yeah, I'm happy to move that.
I have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Milligan. I'll open up for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. I got this referred to the council meeting so we could get a comparison prepared for the 3 tennis facilities that council has that we then lease out. We lease 2 out to commercial entities, 1 to a not-for-profit. I think the table's quite clear about what differences are there. I'm not a tennis court builder, but I'm something of an amateur player, so I appreciate the difference in surfaces. The odd one out here is the George Alder tennis courts, where they are a high grade of professional clay, which has a maintenance requirement that is above and beyond what exists elsewhere. If you've got like hard courts, for example, with an acrylic coating, there's minimal maintenance requirements, as there is for artificial grass, where it just needs a bit of sand topped up every now and then. So that's why you can see that there. I'm of a mind personally where it's a very big balancing act for us as a council with costs and recovery of those costs where we can. So I just wanted to see how these things stacked up. I'm happy to proceed with that, with what we've got here. I think it's useful information, and hopefully all councillors can consider this into the future when we look at how we're managing sporting facilities. The biggest concern for me is for every sports facility that we've got where we may not get the model right for management and costs and things like that, it can lead to the council not necessarily having the finances to go and build other sports facilities. So we've got sports facilities outside of this where the maintenance obligations are pretty high and we don't get a lot of cost recovery, and then that obviously stalls the council investment in other facilities. So I thought it was a useful comparison. I didn't want to enter into this without seeing what we did with other tennis facilities. So I thank the officers for preparing that pretty quickly, and my apologies for not forwarding it on Wednesday morning. I had a quick scan on my phone and didn't notice that it just went to Councillor Milligan and myself.
Any other discussion?
Were you expecting this to materially change the way you approached the awarding of this lease, the information that you got yesterday morning, or was it more just to understand greater what we do elsewhere in the city?
I thought it was important to at least have this before we made a decision, because when a council lease comes up, we don't necessarily get these comparisons. So when we've got equivalent facilities elsewhere, before we enter into a new contract, it makes sense to review whether or not there's that alignment elsewhere. Because again, if we create an odd one out, there's potential inequity there, and the community talks and can get upset about that. So just wanted to manage that process and have a bit more security about where they all stacked up in comparison.
Yes, Councillor Doyle?
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Chair. Councillor Madsen, I just want to confirm in relation to the Tennis Association, you haven't had specific feedback from them around concerns with the level of maintenance required?
No, for a long time, it's just they've had volunteers been doing the maintenance.
Yeah.
So I've heard offhand comments about how potentially they'll have volunteers, elderly gentlemen, doing some physical labour up there, whereas they've seen at other council facilities that doesn't occur.
Yeah, okay. And I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
As the divisional councillor, I've been up there before with yourself to have a chat to them about maintenance and get some work done. So I just wanted to double check. Yes, it was more that general governance question you had around this rather than a specific concern from the association around the level of maintenance obligation imposed on them. Cool.
I think it does feed more broadly into what we're seeing across the city with issues with volunteerism. Like a lot of elderly people retire outside of Ipswich now. So it's a concern for organisations that are relying on that sort of volunteer labour, because eventually they'll reach a point where they can't physically do it. And there's a concern about whether or not people will magically come into the frame and start doing those sorts of things to replace that. So it's something we've got to really be conscious of, in my opinion.
Councillor Mads, obviously I've just going through this now, and I've just, from my reading of the comparison of the three courts, obviously Queen's Park has 8 courts, 4 hard, 4 synthetic, Springfield 8 hard, and George Elder was, which is the 12 clay. But from my reading here, when we're looking at lease or rent, the voluntary, the Ipswich District Junior Tennis Association, the rent or the lease that they're paying looks to be about 15% of market rate, of when you compare with the others, roughly. And the maintenance looks to be pretty similar, noting that clay is very different. Would that be your assumption when you look at that, because you've had a bit more time to look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I guess the other thing to note on 16.1 is that I know it's a confidential attachment, but I did really enjoy reading the business plan that they put forward. Really impressive. It wasn't too big. It was easy to read. Very clear objectives that are measurable. If you like to have a game of tennis, get out there. They seem to be very organised, have a great plan ahead, and it's really great to see that the organisation has that strength of smart people behind them, but also people who are very passionate about tennis. I was really impressed. We see quite a few of these, and I was really impressed with their particular plan.
Mayor, if I may, through you as the chair, it's
Yes.
very noble of Councillor Madsen to apologise for not forwarding the information on to all councillors, but I should take responsibility for that as the organisation. So my apologies that it didn't go to all councillors on the council. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Okay, any other discussion? Hand over to Councillor Mads. As the mover, do you wish to have anything in reply or go straight to the vote?
No, just would add that it would be good if we could make a decision today, because it's quite a process on trustee leases. So if people are comfortable moving forward, I certainly am.
Okay. I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. Thank you. Go on to item 16.2, which is the provisional projects approval. And this matter was referred to council by the Community, Culture, Arts and Sports Committee, I think to ensure that every councillor will have a chance to have a look at it, not just that particular committee. Does anyone have any questions of the relevant council officer on these? No? Do I have I'll move items 1 through to 5. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. In discussion, thank you, Councillor Fechner, for moving this to the ordinary council meeting so all councillors can participate, and I'll open it for any discussion.
Just a point of clarity there, Chair. I didn't do that.
Oh.
This wasn't an item that came across us.
Oh, my apologies.
You might be referring to 16.3.
I've jumped ahead.
Yeah.
My apologies.
I mean, we are the Committee of Fun, and this is a pretty fun thing to celebrate the provisional projects.
I'm jumping ahead.
I can't claim that. So yeah, 16.2 is the consideration of the councillors' provisional projects.
Right. I've jumped ahead to the event sponsorship moment. Sorry. I'll press rewind and play it again later. Thank you. Oh, so we had 5 projects there. I think Cats Island wished to speak to them.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to see that we're able to do some work at Blackstone in the really old suburb of Blackstone. We do have a 2 monthly meeting there, and the last Christmas that we had it, the mozzies just ate us alive, so we might be able to close up some windows in the heat. So this is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it'll be well loved. Any other discussion? Thank you, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to take the opportunity to call out the few projects that Division 3 have got listed here. The installation of the pedestrian handrails along Blackstone Road, Silkstone. Councillor Fechner and I have been speaking for quite some time with some of the senior residents there, and they're very much looking forward to the handrails being installed to improve the safety for them as they negotiate that busy road. Equally, the installation of traffic islands along Gladstone and Tiger Street at Sadler's Crossing. There is a significant issue within the community, as we know at Sadler's Crossing there, with the Herbert Street Bridge being closed, and with the closure of that bridge, it's redirected traffic into surrounding streets, and many of the residents have huge safety concerns. There's been a number of accidents, so I know this will be very well received. The additional signage and the concrete island may help lead to safety improvements, but it's just the beginning. We probably do need to do a bit more there, but it's very difficult with a budget of $125,000 per year. I'm sure all councillors will agree that there's very few projects that you can get done with such a minimal amount of money. Costs of construction, costs of everything these days is through the roof. So, but anyway, glad we've got those over the line, and a more philosophical discussion for the council next term around what those budgets might look like.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Yes, Councillor Fechner.
I just want to add to Councillor Doyle's commentary around the cost to produce some of these projects. We have been working really cleverly behind the scenes with our traffic and transport engineers to find smaller solutions that are still amenable to the entire community. The handrails is a really good example of this. I mean, it's simply 2 handrails which creates greater visibility on the road in a pedestrian refuge to assist people in crossing the road so they don't have to walk a few hundred metres more to get up to the set of lights. I was down there with an elderly resident on Tuesday, and I took her across, and we both agreed that although it's a small improvement, it's a markable one in that it helps identify this as somewhere where you expect to see people crossing a road. So you know, and that kind of speaks to our ability to find those smaller solutions when we're thinking about the problems faced by our community as well, to try and help them out. We've had significant amount of residents email us about the traffic concerns down in Sadler's Crossing. In fact, we have some people emailing us with pictures and traffic calming measures that they would like to see, and quite significant lobbying from the community down there since the closure of the Herbert Street Bridge. And as Councillor Doyle said, we're really happy to start this process for some significant safety improvements, particularly on the bend there. There's been a lot of hooning in the area, and we hope to curb that just a little bit to alleviate through through the community there. Otherwise, we'll continue to see cars crash into homes, which is what's currently happening down there. And lastly, our residents down at the Red Bank Palms have already expressed how grateful they are that we're considering a project down in their backyard, a nice tranquil place for them to sit and enjoy their afternoons in that bench being installed. So some really good grassroots projects from Councillor Doyle and myself, and we're really proud that we can put these through before Christmas.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Vector. I think Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Kunzman and myself are always very grateful for the approach from community with regards to bring to us matters that they believe are of concern, where we can fulfil those needs and requirements via the Provisional Projects Program. I have to say, not always does it fit within the policy guidelines of provisional projects, because if it is something that is identified as a sub-program of works elsewhere by the organisation, it's not able to be done under provisional projects. But we find that our community definitely do think about their needs and things that can be implemented by council to assist. This time, as we've had many in the past in Division 4, this one was brought to us by the Lions Club of Rosewood, who operate on lease from council the campground at Rosewood Showgrounds. And they've identified that some of our visitors to our city then, of course, have a walk, distance to walk from the showgrounds along Railway Street and to get into the greatest CBD of Rosewood to access the shops and laundromat and other services. And they just suggested that a seat halfway along would alleviate, particularly when campers and caravanners tend to be advanced age, retired, and they would benefit from the ability to be able to respite halfway along. I think it's a great idea, and I thank the Lions Club of Rosewood for bringing that to Councillor Kunzman and herself to suggest. And council officers, of course, have assessed it very capably and swiftly, as always, and I'm glad to see that it's on the agenda today.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other discussion? I put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. We now move on to item 16.3, which is event sponsorship 2024 for the Ipswich show. And this matter was referred to council by the Community, Culture, Arts and Sports Committee of the 28th of November 2023 for us to have the discussion. The recommendation before us from the organisation, the Ipswich Show Society, have asked for a $40,000 event sponsorship, and the organisation has put forward the council provide an event sponsorship of $30,000. So I'm going to put forward as the chair that we do a council provide an event sponsorship of $40,000. And if I could seek a second for that, so we may to discuss that. No one wishes to? Okay, then we go to the $30,000. That council provide the event sponsorship of $30,000 to Ipswich City Council, to Ipswich Show Society. I'm not moving that. Council. Okay. As the mover, Councillor Fenton, would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, we spoke at committee last week, and you put some points forward as to why you thought the extra $10,000 was permissible for us as a council to allocate that. That was directly after we just had considered the Turf Club, who also didn't get the amount that they were requesting either. And I hold the view that we have a policy for a reason, the panel convenes for a reason, and this recommendation is here with us this morning for a reason for $30,000. So I'm supportive of the panel's assessment. They do go into great detail. They have great conversations with these applicants of all flavours and kinds across the year. So I'm confident in the $30,000 being landed on there.
Thank you. Councillor Islands, the seconder, would you wish to speak to it as well? Microphone, sorry. Microphone.
I agree with the mover's comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to move a foreshadowed motion that council provide event sponsorship of $40,000 to Ipswich Show Society. So if this one doesn't get up, then that is considered. I'll speak against this particular motion. I recently went to the AGM for the Ipswich Show Society, and what is quite clear is that they're a very active organisation. They don't just do the show, but their expenses during the year are so high. I think their insurance is about $180,000 a year, utilities is about $60,000, power's similar, and so I see that they're being very active when it comes to it's Halloween and markets and all sorts of events, and they do that so they can fund a fantastic show at the showgrounds there. So I see them being very proactive. I don't see them out with a begging bowl. And I look at the history of our council. We know that we have a very strong show society at Marburg. They own their own property and they're very good. We do know that many years ago the Rosewood Show Society were not able to pay their insurance bill, and so it came onto council's books, and we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year on the Rosewood Showground, whereas if it was still stayed with the Show Society, I think it would have been a better outcome financially for our council. So I won't support this purely because I would like to see them have the $40,000. I think the $10,000 is a really minor amount for our council and our community, but it would have such a big impact on the Show Society. I'll open up for further discussion. No. In that case, I'll hand over to you, Councillor Fechner, for a right of reply.
I've said my piece. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
I just support the $30,000. I understand, and you mentioned that the Show Society don't just do the show. What we are considering here in isolation is, in fact, the sponsorship of the show, and when they're putting on all of their other events, there are multiple other funding streams that they can access for those projects and those other events as well, through other funding mechanisms contained within the local government, including in-kind support, which we have given significant amounts of in-kind support over the years as a city to the Show Society as well. So just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you, Councillor Fenner. I put the matter to the vote. Those in favour? So it's everyone in the council except for myself. I vote against. Thank you. So the matter is carried. We now go to item 16.4, the appointment of the Urban Utilities Board member. And the recommendation is that council endorse the appointment of Carmel Crow OAM as a board member of Urban Utilities effective 1 January 2024, and that the chief executive be authorised to sign an instrument to do that. So I will move those two motions. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Ireland. I'll open it up for discussion.
No, just that in reading the resume and the detail that we were given, I don't think that there's a more meritorious candidate to be appointed to the board.
Yes, I haven't met her, I don't know of her, but she has a very impressive resume, from what I can see. I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. We'll now go to item 16.5, which is the extension of membership to the Audit and Risk Management Committee, final 4-year term. And there are two recommendations there. They are to approve the extension for Mr Robert Jones and Mr Martin Power. I'll move those. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Open up for discussion. No, just obviously a very important part of our council, part of our governance arrangements. And I think Rob Jones has done, with his experience with the Interim Management Committee, Wellwell Administration, has been a valuable resource for our council.
Thank you, Mayor. sorry.
Yes, that's it, yes.
Concur with what you've just said, between the three external members, it's well and truly over 100 years of combined professional experience in auditing and financial management. The skill set that they bring to the organisation via Audit and Risk Committee is, amazing. So we're very lucky to have them.
Yeah. And they're not afraid to ask tough questions. Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. 16.6 is the report from the Audit and Risk Management Committee of the 15th of November 2023, and I move that the report of the 15th of November be received and the contents noted and the recommendations contained therein be adopted. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Fichtner. Any discussion? I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. It's unanimous and carried. We now move on to item 16.7, the Local Government Infrastructure Plan Public Notification Report. Can I ask the General Manager of PRS to come to the lectern? I believe that there is a report or something that needs to be looked at. Or there's a submission that was accidentally omitted.
Good morning. Brett Davey, General Manager, Planning and Regulatory Services.
Mr. Dave, I think we've had a request come through asking that a submission 5 was omitted. Do you want to just explain how that happened and what is your recommendation to us?
Yes, so in the final package that was provided through to the agenda, submission 5 was omitted from that package. So to correct that, we've circulated a supplementary memo to add the details for submission 5 into the complete package for the purposes of the resolution sought today. There are no major issues with the submission, and the body of the report and the recommendations already considered the outcome of the consideration of that specific submission in any event. It was just to make sure the package was complete.
Okay, thank you very much. While we have Mr. Davey up on the at the lectern, does anyone have any questions on the public notification report? I guess what were some of the main themes, Mr. Davey?
So as a summary, of the 35 submissions raised, there were a number of submissions that were about non-local government infrastructure plan matters. Those have been, where possible, circulated to consider in the planning scheme. The balance of the matters can be summarised into a couple of categories. The first one is that there were concerns raised about the growth rates and the population forecast used for the purposes of the LGIP, noting the release of the census. The population rates and our demographic work was actually prepared and finalised before the results of the census have come in. But in any event, we'd calibrated or retested the material against the census data. The second thing is there were some questions about the networks and specifically some specific open space sites and some road projects which we've worked through, and then there were some concerns about the growth forecast, the priority infrastructure area, and the sustainability ratio. So in terms of the forecasting and the priority infrastructure area, we've planned for more than 15 years of supply. The mandatory requirements are that the PIA are between 10 and 15 years. We've worked through this non-compliance with the state, but we've actually exceeded the requirements. And then there were some concerns about the sustainability ratio and the overall budget for the LGIP. Those are noted, and part of the recommendation today is to try and work through those issues as part of a future body of work.
And how have the state taken those conversations, noting the big funding gap?
Yes, so the state did quiz us specifically on our sustainability ratio, the value of individual projects and our revenue forecasts. They ultimately accepted the LGIP and we had sign-off to proceed to public notification. I don't believe we are alone in citing issues with delivery of infrastructure and the increasing costs. So this is an ongoing conversation with the state in terms of the whole planning system and the way that we deliver infrastructure for development.
Any other questions for Mr Davey? No, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry,
sorry,
Mayor,
Councillor
through you. Just on recommendation D, which I really like, in that it'll come back to us for a little bit of an update on how the LGIP is actually tracking. We've spoken over time about this being a living document, so to speak, and something that we do check in on. What are the formal processes for amending an LGIP? Say, for instance, in 6 months' time, we see something significantly wrong that's occurring, or even after 12 to 24 months. What is the mechanism that we use to amend the LGIP?
In a way, it's similar to us adopting an LGIP in that we make a resolution to undertake a process, depending upon the complexity of the change, that will dictate the process that we go through with the state and potential public notification. It could be a truncated process as opposed to the one we've gone through so far, which has been almost 6 years in the making. But like the planning scheme, I think it would be best if we have a plan moving forward, that we have regular maintenance of both the LGIP and the planning scheme, and we plan out when there's minor changes and major changes, and forecast, our notification and engagement and preparation phases accordingly.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions of you, Mr.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I note that recommendation B is also including the that submission 5 that Mr. David referred to. So I will move A through to D. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Fichtner. I'll open up for discussion. No discussion. I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. That's unanimous and carried. Move on to item 16.8, Colleges Crossing Recreation Reserve Rehabilitation Project. And it's asking us to go into contract. May I ask for the relevant council officer to come to lectern, please?
Good morning, Matt Anderson, General Manager of Assets and Infrastructure Services.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Our community is very much looking forward to Colleges Crossing coming back to them. With this contract, have any of the dates changed? Because I think we were on, would this be able to, I think construction was meant to start this month. Will that occur with this procurement if it was approved?
No, it wouldn't, Mayor. We're looking at the moment of commencing construction early in the new year. Right. At this stage, looking to, I guess, extend as a result of a number of different reasons.
Okay. And if this did proceed, when is the expected completion date of the work?
So at this stage, I'd have to pass over to Matt Mulroney, who should be in the room. Matt, can you give the expected completion of the dates at this stage?
Morning, Mayor. Matthew Mulroney, Program Manager, Flood Recovery. The actual program for construction is still to be finalised with the contractor. However, they have indicated that they will try and achieve end of 2024, early 2025. A lot of it comes down to weather and supplies.
So let's just say if it starts in January, February, it's going to take nearly 12 months to complete.
Almost 12 months, that's right.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. I don't have it. Anyone? Sorry. Yes, Deputy Mayor, yes. Oh, Mr. Mulroney, sorry. My apologies, Deputy Mayor.
Morning, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Mulroney.
Morning.
I need to ask, with respect to communication that has been provided to community to date, previously, and I'll refer to Council's website with regards to services, flood recovery, asset rehabilitation, Colleges Crossing Recreation Reserve Rehabilitation. The detail in there is sufficient for community to gain an understanding of how we've been progressing through the assessment phases. If going to project milestones, it details back from February 2022 and March and everything that happened there, through to where we currently are in the progress, where award of tender is now, and it states in late 2023 construction will commence there, and also on the Shape Your Ipswich page it also detailed similar that it would commence late 2023. May I ask, the question I'm asking is how will, you stated before that construction will now probably commence early 2024. How does Council intend to clearly communicate that to our community, particularly those very keen users of that site, as to what the updated timeline will be?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Certainly we'll be providing an update on the flood recovery website as to our updated program. I'll be working very closely with the contractor once engaged to identify those milestones as previously indicated. I think it's really important to just highlight some of the delays have been as a result of a number of key items. One has been that we've gone back and really looked at the nature of the redesign that we've been applying to the site. It's been really important for us to make sure that we build a higher degree of flood resilience into that site going forward. We've also gone through a really significant amount of engagement with the public to ensure that we do get an outcome that meets the community's needs going forward. And we also had to engage with the contractors numerous times and extend the actual procurement process to ensure that we provided great clarity to the contractors in terms of what they were actually being asked to deliver. So very confident at the moment that we've got the right arrangements in place. We'll continue to work with the contractor and then provide updates to the community via the website.
Very good. Are there any other communication methods that will be utilised to explicitly make it clear to our community what that will be, that we won't be commencing works in December, as had previously been advised, and knowing that things change, there are, as you stated, Council had to absolutely ensure that the tender design and that the works being undertaken provides absolutely the right outcome, but how that change in timeline, noting that community's expectation with regards to this particular site is very high.
So I just think the CEO has come online.
I'll have a few comments through you, Mayor, as Chair, and if I get anything wrong, please correct Matt or add to. So we will be, there's been a fair extent of corporate communications on this very, very important and significant project. So as is customary, there'll be a media release in relation to the decision here today, in relation to the contractor, and typically we repurpose that information into updates on Facebook and other social media platforms and council channels as well. So I would think that certainly Shape Your Ipswich will be updated as well, which you're referring to, Deputy Mayor. Matt, is there anything else?
Yeah,
Mr. Mulroney?
Exactly, CEO. All those channels have been primed, ready to go, just awaiting the decision of Council today. And I'm excited to let you know that some images of what the park is hoped to look like will also be made available from this afternoon, which I'm sure the community will love the look of the park.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to absolutely ensure that the detail for the community who own this asset is quite clear and explain our reasoning why we're shifting it by about a month.
Any other questions for Mr.
No,
Anderson?
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'll move recommendation A through to D. Do I have a seconder for that? Deputy Mayor? Thank you. In speaking to this, obviously with Colleges Crossing, it's very visible. It's a much loved park, especially actually for people all over our city and those in our neighbours in Brizzy as well. They love to visit the park as well. We did ask the community if we could take a bit extra time to make sure we know that area is going to flood again. There's no doubt about it, and we've seen. We want to learn from the past, and we went to the community saying, can we please do a little bit more consultation and look at something that's more flood resilient, so that we always knew this was going to take more time because of that. I'm delighted that the diagrams will be shared. I think people will like the fact that there'll be provisions there for food trucks and there's playgrounds and a few other changes, a bit more natural and flood resilient aspects. Originally, when we went to Queensland Reconstruction Authority, we had an initial approval to spend up to $14 million there. In doing this and having a more flood resilient and back to nature, you see that this contract, I think, is just over it's $5.5 million. So it's a great saving for taxpayers that we've got I think a better approach long term, but a more flood resilient approach, but also a better financial approach, which doesn't happen very often with the rising costs as well. So I just want to thank the residents who engaged. The organisation did a lot of community consultation face-to-face as well as Shape Your Ipswich. So I want to thank the teams for doing that. Thank you, Mr Mulroney, for your team for doing that as well, and being very, I think, sensitive to the environment there as well. Our main push will be, obviously, is to get it done because our residents really want it done. That will be right from Deputy Mayor. I'll open up for other discussion. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I'd just like to reiterate again that viewing what has come through, that I believe this council has got it right in terms of listening to our community with regards to the feedback that was provided by our community via Shape Your Ipswich in terms of consultation as to moving forward what our residents want to see there, what they believe shouldn't be there moving forward, to make the site far more flood resilient in the future, that each time there is a major flood event, that that site, as it gets torn apart, that it is not viable and feasible to continue re-embellishing to that same high standard that was there before. But we can have a very usable, user-friendly space where people can access the river and the surrounds and use that space in the way that they see fit. In doing so, I think during the design process, all of that was definitely taken into account, and I thank officers for their work in terms of putting that into the design, and that we have ensured that the right outcome will be delivered to our community as to what the far majority of residents wanted. They also, of course, I do acknowledge, would like it done yesterday. Unfortunately, in government, it is not possible to achieve that. We can't cut corners. We must do things in the appropriate method that is expected to be done. And I'm sure that some people may be a bit disappointed that we're starting construction a smidge late, and it is only a smidge. But they have expressed to myself quite clearly that they wanted to begin, get underway and be done. But I'm confident that Ipswich City Council will deliver those works in the best way possible to deliver the best outcome.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Noting that for us, it's the funding actually is coming from the Queensland Reconstruction Authority, so it's a 50-50 from the state, the federal government. So we did have to go through those approvals as well, but we're very grateful for the fact that they also allowed us a bit more time to get a good outcome. And at the time we did the consultation, 80% of residents were wanting a more flood resilient and a more back to nature option, and of the 20% that didn't, well, their main issue was having playground equipment, which this does. So we go. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mayor, just putting on the record that I'm very keen to understand the construction methodology of this project, to understand if there are timelines that has the the actual space open in stages potentially. I think, you know, looking forward to that sort of commentary around this project is going to be more beneficial for us as a council and as an organisation to focus on what that might look like, because the sound grab from today says it's not going to be done until Christmas next year, you know what I mean? And that in some instances, and a lot of the commentary that I've seen, will be unpalatable to so many. So I think that, you know, the messaging moving forward here needs to be, once we appoint the contractor, we need to understand what the construction methodology is, and if we're able to access that space sooner or not, and then just come clean with when the project is going to be finished.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure which stages, whether the parts closest to the river will the footpath be done quicker, so it's, yeah, I'm not aware of that, so I guess we just take that on notice if we could be told if there's a staged approach.
We'll, as we've been doing, thank you, Mayor, as Chair, we'll continue to brief you, but more specifically, as we, as Mr Anderson has indicated, get the contractor on board if the decision is made today. Then we can certainly plan out further the detail of the stages and phases and come back and brief you on what's proposed to see what we can do in terms of any openings. As you're aware, we did open the bottom part of Colleges Crossing earlier this year, which has been great, but of course we need those essential facilities open. So we'll see what we can do in terms of bringing those forward in the phases of the work. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other discussion, I'll move the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. I now ask for, as per an email sent to you earlier today, for consideration for items that were not listed originally on the agenda, items 16.9 and 16.10. So in accordance with section 9.3.2 of Council's Meetings Procedures Policy, Council grant permission for the consideration of items 16.9 titled Procurement for the upgrade of Cameron Park and 16.10 titled Awards to the Ipswich City Council. Now I will move that. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Fechner. Any discussion? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you very much. I appreciate your consideration on that. We'll move on to item 16.9.
Sorry, Mayor, I didn't identify that Councillor Madsen voted.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. I thought he did, sorry. No, sorry. Sorry, I just double check. You for? Yep, thank you. Sorry, I thought I did see. My apologies. 16.9 is the procurement, 21748, upgrade of Cameron Park. Would anyone like to ask the relevant council officer any questions on this matter? No? In that case, I will move items A through to C. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. I'll open up for any discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. Delighted, Councillor Fechner and I are delighted that this project's coming forward and complete, and construction will hopefully soon get underway. The upgrades to Cameron Park, our residents within Division 3, certainly around Bavale, love Cameron Park and have been patiently waiting to learn when they might start seeing those upgrades. The park is heavily used by young families. And we're just really excited and delighted to see this one delivered for residents and ratepayers at a time when, you know, River Heart Parkland hasn't been fully completed as far as the flood recovery works. This is an example of one of our major parks that's heavily utilised by residents is progressing. So it's a great outcome for our residents.
It is. Thank you. Councillor Fechner.
I'm really looking forward to sharing some of the images with our community. Councillor Doyle and I had a sneak peek and we're very excited to share some of the awesome equipment that will be in this park. But just knowing that it's very consistent with what has been on the Shape Your Ipswich page as well. So that community feedback has really intertwined with the ultimate design there. And it looks great. So really happy to be bringing this forward to ensure that we do meet those deadlines on the grants. It's a really great move by the organisation to try and expend those monies rather than having to hand them back to the state, because we absolutely need to be spending all of the money that we have and that we get from the state and federal governments on projects important to our community.
Thank you. I quite like the two-step process with the consultation of going out to people, see what they wanted, and then go back with the design. So it was really appreciate CEO the community engagement approach on this project. I think it was very very grassroots, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. So if there's no other discussion, I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous and carried. We'll now move on to item 16.10. Awards to Ipswich City Council. And the recommendation that Council note the awards won recently by Ipswich City Council in the areas of tourism, planning and workforce learning and development. So to start off, may I ask for Ms Gregory to come to the lectern, please? Thank you, Ms Gregory.
Good morning, Carly Gregory, Manager of Marketing and Promotions.
Would you like to outline the award that Ipswich City Council recently won?
In the last few weeks, I'm very proud to announce that the Ipswich Visitor Information Centre has recently won gold at the Queensland Tourism Awards, which is amazing. It's out of 100 visitor information centres in the state, we are the winner. This accolade is absolutely a testament not only to our staff, but really the amazing volunteers who give of their time, and we have many volunteers who have incredibly long tenures in our Visitor Information Centre, who give of their time to put our city on the map. So this award is absolutely theirs, and they're incredibly proud of it.
Before you go, obviously there's great things for visitors, but I think there's also great things at our Visitor Information Centre that residents of Ipswich would probably love to partake in as well.
Absolutely. Lots of the time our Visitor Information Centre is frequented by locals who, especially at this time of year, are hosting family and friends and looking at creating itineraries with lots to do for them. So absolutely, if you are a local, it is not just for visitors, that's what they specialise in, but we can help you make your friends and family very welcome in our city.
Thank you. And I believe you'll be having some type of Christmas event with the
We are having a special event for our volunteers on the 20th of December, where we will present them with a certificate which references the award, so they get a piece of that award with them to keep at home.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I now call on Mr Davey, the General Manager of Planning and Regulatory Services. You need more hands, Mr Davey.
Yes, I do need more hands.
I just said that Ipswich City Council has recently won, not one, not two, but 3 Planning Institute of Australia Queensland Awards.
Yes, so we put in nominations at this year's Planning Institute Queensland Awards for 2 categories, for work on the planning scheme and the climate change and resilience category, and also on the stakeholder engagement category. So that's for the essentially the climate change work and the flood work that was done with the planning scheme in particular, alongside our partners that were in that work, Meridian Urban, and with the stakeholder engagement, that was for the engagement program for the planning scheme and the ELGIP, and that was with our partners Articulus. So that we won those categories, but then we won the overall award, which was the number 1 award for the night, which is the overall winner for the 2023 awards for planning excellence. That means that we entered into the national awards, which are held in Melbourne next year.
That's outstanding. Well done. Well done, Mr Davey. I know that you were very much leading that piece of work as well. Well done.
Yes, so genuine team effort there. So very proud to be involved.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's amazing. I now call on Ms Love Lene to come to the lectern as well.
I'm told I have to hold these up.
And you have to say your name and your job title.
Manager, People and Culture, Talia Lovelinay. Thank you. So on the 22nd of November, we were very proud in People and Culture to learn that ICC, Ipswich City Council, had won 2 LearnX awards. We were awarded the Platinum Award, which is the highest level award for our best custom bespoke learning for our Managing at Ipswich City Council program. This is a program for current or aspiring managers in council, taking them through our 5 values and all things management related and how we expect our managers to behave and manage their teams. So we are super proud of this award, and we also got a Diamond Award for our best learning and talent development, which is for our mandatory training compliance, of which our Audit and Risk Management Committee members will be aware of the focus that we've had on this program over the last few years. The LearnX Awards are very prestigious in that they draw entries from leading global enterprises as well as mid-sized and smaller organisations across corporate, government, academic sectors worldwide. We were up against Westpac, CSIRO and Coles, so we are super proud of these events. You might remember last year we won a Platinum Award also for our Inspiring Leaders program, so I think this really demonstrates our leadership in this space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and well done, Ms. Loveday, for spearheading and getting that work up and done, and it's we can see the results in our organisation. Thank you.
Thanks.
So I'll move that Council note the awards won recently by Ipswich City Council in the areas of tourism, planning and workforce learning and development. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll open up for discussion. I'd just like to thank you, CEO, for the leadership you're showing in these three very essential areas of the organisation. And these are the areas that we, our committee expect us to excel at, and you've done very well. So thank you very much, CEO.
I just yes, thank you for your support, Mayor and councillors, and of course, thanks go straight back to the team. It's really a team effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Donning.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Just a quick mention. I was out at Porter's Plainland for the RDA IWM meeting, and that brings all the members across the region together from Lockyer, Somerset, Scenic Rim, and everyone's talking about us for taking out the awards, especially the Visitor Information Centre. So it's very humbling, and I'm very proud of the staff and volunteers. That's what Ipswich is about, right? Welcoming and sharing. So yeah, well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Chair. I, like Councillor Johnnick, are really proud of the staff, and they are, trusted partners that we're working alongside every day. So I'm not surprised by these awards, the external acknowledgement, but it's lovely that they receive it. I just want to particularly call out, putting on my boring governance, audit and risk cap, Miss Lovelanay mentioned that the staff training and learning, that is really critical. It's an enormous amount of work that Miss Lovelanay and her department have done to get the organisation to a point. In order for us to be compliant, our staff need to be knowing their responsibilities and obligations and meeting that, and they are. So it's been a long journey, but delighted to get to that point. That gives me confidence that the organisation's doing the right thing. So. And I know, coming from a large organisation, it's not easy shifting that culture, taking staff on the journey. Huge task that they've undertook. So, yeah, all credit to them.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle.
I just want to say I will give back the award that's sitting in front of me.
He didn't say when.
And thanks to the organisation for having this as our final item to consider at Council Ordinary for the year. It's really nice to stop, take stock and reflect on some of the really amazing stuff that happens in this building and across the city each and every single day. I
agree, Councillor. And I think too with the planning scheme award, because we've talked about the LearnX and the Vic award. I've looked at the planning scheme. The planning scheme is a whole of organisation approach. Planning and regulatory services can't do it on their own. They do it across the entire organisation. We have one of the oldest planning schemes in Queensland. We've been really strong in, make it as easy as possible to show people what's being developed in Ipswich. So development eye software, so people can see what's there. Making it as easy as possible. Having additional roadshows. We made sure that there was additional budget in there, so we could spend a lot of time even before the public notification period. Letting residents know and doing that education, doing a citywide mail out and various other programs, and hopefully we get a great planning scheme next year based on that thorough feedback, that consultation with the state, with developers, with our residents and so on. So it's really pleasing to see. It's just amazing to get that overall award statewide. It's an incredible achievement. I don't know if planning schemes often get that award, Fred, or was it?
Reportedly not.
Occasionally, yeah. 1989 was the last time a planning scheme received that overall award. So, wonderful. Okay, I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. Are there any notices of motion? No, no questions on notice. I just note that we won't be having a committee meetings in January. We'll be going straight to an ordinary council meeting, so it'll be a longer meeting. It'll also be our last council meeting before caretaker, because caretaker kicks in the 29th. So I'm expecting it to be a bit of probably a big agenda that particular day to get things done that we can't obviously decide on. And we'll have our normal council meetings obviously in February and March as well. But yeah, so I just wish everyone a lovely Christmas and a Merry Christmas, and thank you very much for all your hard work over the year. And I'll close this now at 11:32 a.m. Thank you.